Hello, I'm James Toy, Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for KCRAR. You're about to watch one of our candidate interviews, an unfiltered, front row look at how those seeking office approach the issues that shape private property rights and the real estate industry as a whole. We share these conversations publicly so you can hear directly from the candidates, understand their positions in their words, and cast your vote with confidence. So I know that we've had the chance to speak a little bit via email, but again, I'm James Toy. I'm the SVP of Government Affairs for KCRAR, and I am joined by my colleague Jeff Carson. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Jeff Carson with KCRAR. I'm Director of Realtor Advocacy and Commercial Services here at the association.
Nice to meet you both.
And Dana, we are only so interesting. We're really interested in hearing more about you. So if you want to tell us a little bit about your professional background, maybe some of your public service, we'd love to hear it.
Okay. I am professionally, I'm a CPA. So this is fortunately a very slow time of year for me. I say that
I was going to say, what?
very much jokingly. Yeah.
I thought,
And then I've been the chair of the Lee Summit Planning Commission, or I am the current chair. I've been on that commission for about 9 years. I'm involved in the community. I've served on some boards. I currently, I have 4 children. One is still living at home. I'm trying to think of the various boards. I help out with the Lee Summit Symphony. I do in-kind work for them. I graduated from Rockhurst University, back when it was Rockhurst College, actually, if that says anything. I got my undergraduate from there and my MBA. And as far as the CPA work is concerned, I started my business here in Lee Summit in 2009. So that's a pretty brief overview, I guess. And also I'm on the Lee Summit Charter Commission right now this year. We do that every 10 years.
How long have you been a resident of Lee Summit?
30 years, a little over 30.
A little over 30 years. And you have some involvement with the Planning Commission now, we understand. How did you get involved there?
Well, in 2017, they had a recall election. And so on a whim, I decided just to when they do a recall, you can apply instead of going through the election process. So I decided to see what it was like. I remember sitting there thinking, oh no, I don't know if I really want to do this. There were 10 of us. I did not get that position, but then later the mayor appointed me to the Planning Commission in that same year. So it's gotten me really acquainted with the development in the city. And it does take a little while to learn that those jobs. It just, you gain that institutional knowledge, and it when you don't come from a position of development, you learn a lot. I've enjoyed that.
mhm.
I mean, that's a really fast way to take a deep dive and learn about what's coming to your area. I'm curious, are there any lessons or big takeaways that you've had with your time with the commission?
I would say don't ever think a question is stupid. When you first start, you're scared to ask, and then you realize that's why you're there, to have that intuition and know that maybe that question needs to be explored. So I've learned no stupid questions. Just ask. I mean, don't take up a lot of time doing it, where the meeting goes forever. But those questions are sometimes how we drill down to what we need to know.
Right. No, I think it's a great answer. And, of course, being in that position, you deal with residential as well. So as far as if you are elected to council, based on your lessons you've learned from Planning Commission, how do you think that the city can best tackle your residential housing needs?
Well, we've had the Ignite plan that we use in Lee Summit. As far as multifamily housing, we're at the number we need to have as far as the multifamily apartments. I feel we need to focus on that missing middle. We kick that term around, but that's I say the plexes and the townhomes, and that what we need is housing. It's the issue that we have across the whole country, and that's the affordable quote or slash attainable housing. It's really, I call it attainable housing. Trying, if we're going to allow more opportunities for home ownership, we've got to get things that people can buy at the lower price levels, which are definitely still not low. As we know, the days of the $150,000 starter home or 100,000 it's beyond us. So I feel, and here's an example of how I view this housing product. In Jackson County, we have the property tax freeze for seniors 65 and over. A lot of seniors may want to downsize. And so if they can buy that product and not have it for rent, they can do that, maybe their house is completely paid off because they've downsized enough that they don't have any house payment, but then they also have their property taxes frozen. So as their income gets more and more fixed, they are able to stay in their home, plan for that. And then you truly have housing for all ages, community for all ages. So I think it checks a lot of boxes, but even for young people, just having an opportunity to buy into something.
No, I appreciate that response. We're talking about creating housing across all demographics. Of course, to be able to bring people to the area for said housing, you're going to need jobs. Do you have any
Yes.
particular vision for economic development and what the future of Lee Summit might look like from the flip side of that, which is the commercial side?
I'd like to see us, if we're going to use incentives, we've incentivized a lot of the department projects. I would like us to use incentives as a tool to attract employers to Lee Summit. I like the idea of people being able to work where they live. I personally have a 1 mile commute, and I love that. And also, like you said, we need to bring people in here so they can have, if they have good paying jobs, they can afford to buy homes in our community. So I'm definitely thinking incentives that get the employers' attention so that they'll come here.
Now, this is a little bit of an off-the-cuff question, but just help me satisfy my curiosity. Are there any target industries that you might look at for Lee Summit?
I would say technology, even logistics might work real well because that can even be, I know I have clients who do logistics and they do it from home. So if we had, I guess they're doing it from home, but if they had even offices here where people did do those kind of industries, infrastructure, we need infrastructure. As we've grown, we're going to have more need for that. So jobs and infrastructure as well. Those are, and then of course, medical, we've got healthcare. As we grow, we need more healthcare services. And so bringing businesses in that provide those services would be big for our community.
Well, I don't think I accidentally shared my questions with you, but you kind of already jumped the gun because my next one is related to infrastructure. It's great for us to talk about bringing in more residential property and more residents for the area, bringing in commercial enterprises, but all of that means more cars on the roads. And there's significant wear and tear. Of course, road maintenance year over year is getting increasingly expensive, and that's not to mention your bridges and things like that. Do you have a strategy in mind for how do you keep up with that demand on your road systems?
I feel we have to be really careful that our density doesn't outpace the infrastructure. So as we build things out, we've got to try to, if we're going to use incentives to help the development come in, and the incentives can be used toward building out the infrastructure, that we're just going to have to be really careful because I think we already have some traffic issues here in Lee Summit. And so building it, if we could build it as we go, and I think that requires a lot of special planning because you have to really not just look at that one project, but you have to look at it how it relates to other things that might go in that area. And that's a little bit more, well, probably a lot more detailed than our plan is because our plan's a guideline. So we just very intentional development where we're looking at all the things that might go in that area. Maybe we even target businesses to come to a certain area because we want to build that out and develop that infrastructure.
Do you believe that developers have a role to play when it comes to building out infrastructure? You see some municipalities and counties bake it into their agreements where they'll help offset certain costs to the municipality. Do you think that there's a bit of a partnership to be had there?
Yes, I do. I don't think it's our responsibility to make sure the development is profitable. I believe that's the responsibility of the developer. However, when as in order to make costs lower for them, we're probably going to have to do some things. I just apartment incentives, I don't, a lot of the incentives come with retail jobs and the apartments. So I feel like a stronger tax base would be if we bring employers in who will provide jobs that are paying jobs that would provide opportunities for people to work. And so I don't know if I'm really answering your question. I feel the partnerships are important with whoever we're working with to help with the infrastructure and even public safety, just partnering so that we make sure that we're all on the same page about what we want to receive as the residents in the city from the developer and what they think they need our help with.
I really
Well, I know
appreciate that response. And Jeff, I know you have a couple of questions yourself.
I do. I want to piggyback on that. I know of course, in my role, which is the same as yours as chairman of planning and zoning, a lot of times having these developers that want to build these big projects, sometimes that's the opportunity to get some infrastructure done. I
Mhm.
mean, and they always push back on sidewalks and, other types of things, but sometimes that is the chance to get those things done for our cities, and we have to take advantage of those opportunities. Um, Going into one of my questions, so talking about community trust, obviously you're a CPA. People trust you because they're coming to you to handle their finances. And you did touch on your some previous experience. Anything else you think, any kind of other accomplishments that demonstrate your readiness to serve the citizens of Lee Summit?
I would say with being a business owner has given me a lot of insight as far as how you proceed with your business plan. So learning how to look at a plan where you've gone or how far it's gone and reassessing. I think it's really important. I it's not all just a business approach, but having that experience, because sometimes business is better than other times. And so just learning how to manage the ebbs and flows of that have given me that ability. Also, leading a staff and the just knowing how to listen to people. I listen to clients a lot. So
Sure.
listening and understanding where they're coming from. There's a lot of fear when people come to me. They don't like dealing with their taxes. So just having that ability to really connect with them so they feel safe enough to come and talk to me about things. I think that's been really helpful. It's even helped in the public hearings when we have residents. I really try very hard to make sure the residents get their questions answered so that they feel heard. If we
Correct.
aren't heard in our own backyards, that's where local government is. If we're not heard at this level where we live, there's no chance that we feel hopeful about how it'll be heard in general. So
Sure.
that's a huge thing for me, representative government, really.
Well, and you know as well as I do, it's difficult when people are opposed to something that's going to be built near their neighborhoods,
Yes,
but yet it's for the greater good, and sometimes your vote is reflective of that,
right.
knowing that you've had to listen to 20, 30, 40 people talk, in opposition, and then take a vote that's opposite of how they wanted you to perceive it. It's a fine line to walk, and so I
It
appreciate the work
is.
you do. And really most of what you said um, the answer to that question, you could have sounded like a realtor. I mean, everything you said about, building trust, people coming and being comfortable with the process. That's exactly what we do. So I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
your answer. I mean, if I would have known what we were here for, I would have thought you were a realtor. So you speak like us, but you do very similar things. I mean, you have to build
Yeah,
trust and rapport. And
it's
that
huge.
takes me to my last question. Speaking about realtors, we play a large role in our community, really at all different kinds of levels. I mean, we're in people's living rooms every day. why should the realtors support your candidate? What sets you apart? Why should the realtors support you?
I'm a very strong advocate of home ownership. I I believe in it because I still believe it's the American dream. I remember when I signed on the dotted line for my first home and the way I felt. And I was really old. I was in my early 20s. So now you're looking at the average age closer to 40.
Yep.
I just really want more people to have that. I want my children to have that. And it's reflected in the things I've talked about on planning commission. And I will add to that. I also am an advocate for people using realtors for their transactions, because if people try to save money by doing for sale by owner, but there's a lot of pitfalls with that. And I believe in the professionalism of real estate, and in the negotiation process, the agent can many times get you back your commission and just take care of a lot of the headaches. So I'm very passionate about it. I have a lot of respect for the real estate profession.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and the way you said it. I hope that your business as a CPA continues to be very successful, because I don't want you to get in the real estate business, because I would hate to compete with you, because
Oh,
you you sound like you could be a realtor. So
well, maybe I'll pick up a side
I
gig.
hope that CPA business continues to do well for you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, Dana, that is all the questions we have for you. Are there any questions you have for us?
No, I just appreciate this opportunity. I really liked talking, or I liked filling out the questions you sent earlier, and I really like just talking about this. So I really appreciate you taking your time and speaking with me.
Of course, and we hope it was a pretty painless process. Thank you for the feedback on the form. That's good to know, and we'll certainly be in touch here in the coming weeks. But if there's anything you need between now and then, please feel free to always reach out and use us as a resource.
Okay, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
You take
You
care.
too. All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.